Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Sea&me and I am Maria. And today I am going to answer you the question, what is it that marine biologists do? This is both a complicated and simple question to answer. It's complicated because marine biology is a very big field, and what you do highly depends on what kind of research you do. However, it's also relatively easy to explain in the sense that there is a common workflow amongst all marine biologists, if not most scientists, that we all have to go through in order to do our research. And this is where I'm going to focus on right now. Everything starts with, number one, planning your research. First thing you have to do before doing anything else is to decide what you want to study, where you want to study, and how you want to study it. After this is decided, you can jump into it and start doing your research. Which brings me to number two, sample and/or data collection. This is the point that normally people do associate with marine biology, which is going out into the field and living all these crazy adventures and doing stuff in the field. Here I say data and/or sample collection because they might or might not be one and the same. Let's say, for example, you are studying the behavior of a certain fish when another fish approaches its nest. Mind, this is just a totally random example. In this case, you will probably have to go to wherever this fish is living, to its nest, and observe what it does when other fish approach. Note it down, and then you have your data. On the other hand, if you decide that, okay, I also want to study this in more detail back in the lab. So you might then have to collect a fish and bring it to the lab or into aquarium where you will then do further experiments. So in this case, you do not have the data directly, you collect samples and then you do the rest in the lab. Which brings me to my third point, sample processing and/or data analysis. Of course, if you already have your data, you don't need any more sample processing. However, if you have, after collecting your samples, need to do more experiments, you need to process them in the lab, which is, for instance, the case of what my working group normally does. In my working group, we focus on understanding how microbial communities all around the world work. Their community composition, their activity, the interactions between each other, how they survive in certain conditions, and so on, so forth. Of course, we cannot see these microorganisms in their environment. What we need to do is we collect water and then we bring it to the lab. And in the lab, we process the samples that we collected out on the ship. Once we have these samples all processed, we go into data analysis. How you approach your analysis is very, very important, because once you have your data, you have to decide how you look at it, what kind of variables you want to study, how you want to do it. And once you do find this juicy new thing that no one has ever found before, you are ready for number four, writing a research paper. Paper, for those of you who are new in the scientific world, is the life support of a scientist. It is basically the way that scientists have to show the rest of the scientific community and the rest of the world what they are doing and how they did it and what they found out. Once you wrote your paper, you have to submit it to a journal. So a journal is like kind of a newspaper, but instead of having news, you have research papers. Once you did choose which journal you want your paper to be published in, you submit it, then it goes through a reviewing process, and after this process, which might take from weeks to months, you get either an answer of, yeah, your paper was accepted, and then it's published, and the end, and you make a party, or your paper was accepted if you do these changes, which then you have to then do in case if you really want to publish in this journal, or your paper was rejected. Case in which you will probably have to submit to a new journal and probably also have to do some adjustments in order to fit the format of the new journal that you are submitting your paper to. Besides all this, we also have other side things that we need to do while doing our research. Going to conferences and showing our work and networking with other scientists and other parts of the scientific community, teaching, and of course, very important, writing research grants. None of all this is possible without money. We need money for salaries, we need money for lab equipment, we need money for going out to field work, we need money for basically everything. We always need to write new grants and new proposals to get more funding in order to continue our research. Mind that these things do not go in this like very linear order. Normally everything is happening at the same time. You are writing a paper while you are analyzing new data, while you are doing new experiments. I try to not make this video very long. This is I could talk about this forever, but I hope that you got to understand a bit more of what we do in a general way, and mind again that this is very, what you really do really is highly dependent on what kind of research you do. And in this note, I do recommend that you check out two channels of two colleague marine biologists / YouTubers that I follow and I really enjoy. Chances are, if you have already explored the marine biology world in YouTube, you found them already. They do very different research from mine, and I think it's very interesting to see how marine biology is such a huge field and what kind of approaches you can have towards these ecosystems. And just one more thing, I did come from a cruise 2 days ago, and there will be a couple of videos coming your way in the next couple of weeks showing what I did there. That's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you again in the next video.